Hey viewers, welcome to VL Astrology once again. I'm Vanita Lenka. I'm a Vedic astrologer. And today I'm back with the series on retrograde planets. Yes, I have made already 5 parts. And if you really want to understand what is a retrograde planet, you can watch the part 1. So that will actually help you understand what is retrograde planet and what exactly does it do um, in your personal chart. So I have made 5 parts, Saturn retrograde, if you have in the natal chart, in any of the houses, Mercury, Venus, Mars. So I've made already 5 parts. And this is the last part, that is Jupiter retrograde. Because Jupiter is going to be turning retrograde soon. So I thought that I will convey this video before I make the video on Jupiter retrograding in the sign of Aquarius, demoting to the sign of Capricorn. So I just want to tell you that basically retrogrades are very confusing planets. They are closest to the Earth, first of all, because they're away from the sun. So it is a phenomena where it is not actually the planet going backwards, but it is an apparent a phenomena. It means that a planet is away from sun and closer to the earth. It's in such a, axis astronomically, you will get to know in that video I have explained. So do watch that video to understand this phenomena. Also, you can just in a very simple manner, when a train is, two trains are moving in the similar direction, so you feel that the other train is going backwards and your train is moving ahead. Or we can understand it in a very simple manner that you've forgotten something at home and you're going towards your car, you forgot your keys, come back home, grab the keys, go back and drive, and then go to the onward journey. So that phenomena from the car coming back, that distance you've already covered, right? You went to the car and you just got reminded, oh, I forgot the keys. So you coming back, that is retrogradation. So any planet, when it gets retrograde, it is here to actually define that there is something which is actually missing. There is something which we have to complete, okay, from the past life, maybe. Okay, so it's like not the actual movement of the planet in the reverse, but it is an apparent one, but definitely it impacts us on the astrological manner. In a birth chart, if Jupiter is retrograde, so that means that you are going to be having that inward expression to the approach is very serious. You have to also understand that when Jupiter is retrograde, it behaves like Venus. And Jupiter is the most benefic planet. So when it goes retrograde, it actually starts behaving in a very uh, indifferent manner. It is not the same Jupiter as you were expecting it to be. So this Jupiter becomes more towards materialistic world, inclined towards growth. Even if you are having, Jupiter um, in dignity, maybe it is exalted Jupiter or it is in its own signs, even then it is losing its potency the way it is supposed to give in a direct manner. So when in any horoscope you see an R in front of any planet, that means that planet is retrograde. Also, your belief system, whatever is your belief system, that is also that changes. You feel that you are going to be, you know, uh, doing things in a very conventional, traditional manner. Maybe the ritualistic you, that also changes. One person who is idealistic, a righteousness, that person is following the path of righteousness, that's forgotten, and that person actually starts behaving in a very different manner, right opposite to what the right Jupiter does. Okay. If Jupiter is exalted, it's said that when Jupiter is exalted and in retrogression, it behaves like a debilitated planet, or the vice versa. If it is debilitated retrograde, it behaves like exaltation. It's also said that Jupiter starts giving the result of the previous house where it is seated in retrogression. Also, the Karaka of the fifth house, being the Karaka, the significator of the fifth house, starts giving results of the fifth house. So these are few things that you must keep in mind when you have a Jupiter in retrogression. Also check, are you running through the dasha of Jupiter? If you are, then definitely this video is for you first and foremost. Jupiter or any other planet, even if you're not running through the dasha or antardasha or pratyantardasha, it's not that that particular planet is going to stop giving the results. For sure, it is forming some kind of connectivity with the other. All the planets are forming connectivity in your horoscope, you will see. And one particular planet predominates. It actually dominates the whole horoscope. That is also what I have observed in many, many years. One planet becomes the ruler of the chart. I will make a separate video on the same with examples. Definitely, I will give you the examples. So don't feel too overconfident if you have a retrograde Jupiter. Also, don't feel that arrogance, See, Jupiter as it is gives you arrogance. If it is especially over the first house, it gives you a lot of ego also, because Jupiter is guru after all. And a guru, a teacher, if you will see, has a lot of self-respect, ego also. So you have to be more, respectful to the guru. Otherwise, the guru loses that interest in teaching you, in acquiring that knowledge. You will have difficulty. So retrograde Jupiter also gives that. So let me share one by one how it is going to give you the impact when it is transiting, when it is placed in your particular house. Okay, let me show you so that you are able to understand. Okay, so this is the North Indian and the South Indian chart that I have put up. So I will be sharing with you one by one as to how the Jupiter transit is, Jupiter's placement in your natal chart, if it is going to be in the first house, going to be giving you. But before that, I must tell you that a retrograde Jupiter can actually give you a lot of inward expression, and you will have conflict over religion, spiritual beliefs, and also it can give you a lot of issues in overcoming the problems, because Jupiter retrograde means it is not that optimistic Jupiter. Okay, so it can lead to some problem or the other. If at all it is not in dignity, it is not considered to be in dignity also there can be that you feel that you are having some trust issues, you're having some uh, problems in making plans, they are falling apart, you're procrastinating a lot. Also, Jupiter retrograde gives you um, spiritual incarnation. Okay, you must seek your own truth, you must feel that you want to um, cherish those traditions, your richness, your background that you're from. Okay, so these are all the positive Jupiter gives and the retrograde Jupiter gives. And the best is to make the best use of your time that you have to examine what exactly are you having, the shifts of energy from time to time, because this is also a retrograde Jupiter enables you to derive insight, wisdom also, and some attentive lessons that you learn from your own experiences. Okay, so this definitely is going to be giving you some kind of unconventionality attached to this Jupiter as well. Okay. Now, if Jupiter is over your first house, as you can see, so this will be giving you, uh, you have to actually deal with the negative character or traits. Jupiter over the first house would have actually given you the optimistic approach towards life. But here you have some uh, negative influence on your life because you feel unreliable, you're not confirmed about your judgments, you're having some problems in making decisions, you can be little dishonest also, you can deviate from your path. And also the religious activities one should do, because it's looking at your fifth house as well as your ninth house. So this can give you some kind of approach where you can also feel that you are losing out on your spiritual belief system. There is something unconventional about this Jupiter, remember, because this Jupiter is not the actual uh, Jupiter. You will have some different approach, very unconventional, unorthodox approach towards your religion, maybe. Okay. Or maybe it is, I've seen people switching their religion also. They do something, they go onto something else, they opt for something else, generally I've seen. And this is also going to be giving you some self-deception, self-deception about your own self with Jupiter over the first house. So the best thing is, when Jupiter is retrograde, you must do something for the guru. You will have little difficulty in finding a guru also. I've seen this brings about some problems in finding the right kind of guru as well. So that's what is this Jupiter in the first house about. Now coming to the Jupiter in the second house. So let me, okay. So when Jupiter is in your second house, so this is about financials. It gives you inclination towards financials. It makes you more, the approach is towards material growth, because Jupiter is a very pious planet. He doesn't need any spiritual growth. He doesn't need any material growth. He is very spiritually inclined planet. So when it is over your second house in your natal chart, it is in your natal chart in the second house. So this can lead to some kind of unconventionality about earning the wealth, or maybe you can lose the right path and you want to make quick money. So this can also bring about amplifying those energies where you lose your righteousness. You're more inclined towards making money by hook or by crook. Okay. So there is lack of value for money, maybe, or you're spending unnecessarily, or you can be very miser also. Quite likely that you can be very miserly. You can be having money, but you don't want to spend on the right causes, on the humanitarian causes, charity. Okay. That is quite likely with Jupiter in your second house. This also brings about some karmic debt, that you have to pay, because this is right opposite the eighth house. So this also brings about some influence, because this is like Venus. So Venus is in its own zone. So something to do with your enhancement of your maybe your wealth. You're going to be getting some kind of home decorations. You will be more on the show off kinds. You will be acquiring a lot of money and wealth as well. So how you do it? Of course, that lesson you have to learn. Okay, because you are going to be neglecting the value system that you have. Okay, you definitely are going to be. And in the second house, as you can see, when Jupiter is in the second house, it's looking at your sixth house also. And it is going backwards in reverse. So this is a combined trait that you have the inclination towards bearing children or conceiving, but there are complications because Jupiter is in retrogression. So it gives some unconventional approach to those areas where Jupiter sits. Okay, always it's applicable to one and all. In the third house, when Jupiter is in the third house, so in the third house, Jupiter will give you, it is opposing the ninth house also, not to forget, of higher learning, higher education, religion, law. So there is a good judgment about all these areas, but you are actually having some kind of unconventionality about your communication. You're going to be more structured about, you're very, very meticulous. You're very, organized about your religion, about your education, about your communication. You have a good judgment about these areas, of course. Third house here in retrogression is considered to be good. There can be some problems in your relationship with your siblings, with your neighbors, or maybe they are very unconventional types. They are far from you. And also you're responsible about your maybe your own family values at times. It is like, you um, are um, and there is lack of confidence maybe, but it's the third house after all. So this brings about a lot of learning facilities to you to develop yourself, but at the same time there is some problems due to your ego clashes. There's a lot of bloated ego that you have to tame in the third house. And there can be some quarrels or some kind of misunderstanding, miscommunication often with this Jupiter in the third house. It also gives you some kind of determination. You can be very adamant. You can be very um, you can be very communicative about what you want. You have that influence about in on your life in a very dignified manner. Of course, I would not call this as a negative one because it is going backwards also in reverse if we see, and it is like Venus here. So Venus in Gemini sign is more communicative, more showy, more gaudy, more flamboyant. So you become very flamboyant when you will hype your communication. You want to convey everybody that you are very literate about whatever knowledge you have. So that's something which happens when Jupiter is over your uh, in your third house in your natal chart. If Jupiter is in your fourth house in your natal chart, what happens? So this is going to be bringing about the development of the negative traits as per your home is concerned. You have a very different approach towards your family, or maybe you don't get along well with your family. You have clashes with what they think and what you think. It can also give you some kind of um, different education, line of education than the normal family lineage. So you're going to be studying, but you are going to be focused on your uh, making money, how you can be more, you're more money oriented and you're more into the, uh, you know, lack of lack of communication with your own family. So this is something which will give you a lot of constraints. You will be more limited. You will be more inclined towards your own self-centric approach basically. So you must have that. That's something which I can just tell you, that you must have that approach where you can be following that right path, because you're born with a retrograde planet. So that doesn't mean that you cannot modify yourself. Definitely you can modify yourself. You do have a very well literate mother, so take her advice, and you can be maybe forming that connectivity, that soul and spirit communication as you have with your people around you. You can have that heart to heart communication with them and sort things out, take their advice, because Jupiter retrograde will not let you do that. So you must have some kind of communication with your people, your own family members, rather than, just thinking that you are going to be doing things which are going to be helping you grow personally. Okay. Because without the family, you cannot do it. And from here, it is looking at your 8th house, your 12th house. So quite a lot of inclination towards occult sciences. It can give you some foreign connections, and being in retrogression, this can also maybe make you get settled overseas. Okay. If Jupiter is in your 5th house, so 5th house is romance, 5th house is love, relationships also, and also children, progeny. You have lack of inclination towards making children, or children are denied. there is some kind of, um, lack of inclination towards having children. Also, this is like Venus over here. So this will give you a lot of true feelings of love towards people, towards your partner. So you will have that kind of a relationship where you have more, drive to the physical more. Instead of that soul attachment, you are going to be having that kind of uh, arrangement where you are having a lot of sexual urge and you're having a lot of fire in you as well. So this is going to be bringing you making you taking risks even more. You're going to be making money through gambling. Maybe you will be having some direction where you are having a lot of enjoyments, fun activities, because Jupiter is expansive also, we must understand. So compassion, understanding, wisdom, all these things you must show towards your children if you have, or you should involve yourself with your children. But you do have very good judgment about good taste, about good, about the good things in life, and the happiness quotient that is also being enhanced with Jupiter here. It's in retrogression and it's like Venus there. So definitely it is positive. From here, it is looking at your Dharma house, that is the other Dharma Trikona, that is the ninth house. And it's also looking, this Jupiter is looking at your first house. So could be that you have, sweet tooth, and maybe you are fond of traveling also. Okay. When Jupiter is in your natal chart in your sixth house zone. So Jupiter in the sixth house in retrogression means that this is the house of loans, debts, enemies, diseases. Jupiter, if it's in direct motion, it gives you some kind of beneficence there. So you can combat, it will give you the disease, but you can combat. But when it is in retrogression, so this gives you health issues, and there are very less chances of getting recovered easily. This is also the house where everything gets amplified, but you're not actually going to be getting any kind of relief here. You can have dietary issues, you can have some wrong habits, addictions. Also, you can have some overindulgence in food, and maybe there are certain problems that you have to face uh, at the place of work also. Some health issues are also quite likely because this is a retrograde Jupiter in the sixth house zone, which is actually the zone of Mercury. So here, there you are not taking care of your body. You lack that. So this is the a zone where, this is the zone of service also. So it might be that you are not inclined to serve anybody, serve others, because it's after all in retrogression. So the idea of service is certainly that you have some past life connection where you have to actually serve others. So that is the best thing about this Jupiter, that if you serve others, you're going to be quitting your karma and you will be feeling better after that. So the idea of service is that you should have the reflection, the reflection of the past, and you bring it here, perform, okay, and have good connectivity with the people at the place of work, because from here it is looking at your 10th house, and also it is looking at your second house. So second house is of speech. So you must be very vocal about, communicative about what you're going through, what you want to do, and with your, a good connectivity with your coworkers will also, when you're vocal about it, will also enhance your growth. It will actually enhance you as a human being, and a lot of things can be taken care of: your loans, your debts, your enemies, your diseases. So these are going to be coming to an end, or they're going to minimize if you are more communicative and vocal about these things. Okay, and serve. That is what is very essential. When Jupiter is over your 7th house in your natal chart, in your birth chart, if Jupiter is in your 7th house is partnerships, marriage, And it can also be that you are very unconventional. You get married to somebody who is not from your own community, not from your own background. A person is very different. You're very sincere and trustworthy though, or maybe, there is lack of trust with the partner. Either which ways, it can happen. Or maybe in the past life, you were not faithful to the partner. Okay, so now you have to be more focused on the partner. Don't be too self-centric. Okay, so this is, I think this particular placement, I will not consider it as negative, because from here Jupiter is going to be looking at your first house also. So this gives you good business acumen also. And this is a zone where Venus is happy. Venus is in its own zone. So Jupiter retrograde means a Venus. So this will bring about a lot of connectivity with the partner, very good business opportunities you will get. You're sincere this life, and you're honest. You must be honest also. So that sense of fair play is quite predominant here. So whatever balance we need to be doing in the business, or whatever, you can call it, this is the house of relationship. So if you strike a balance here, you will definitely have good uh, Jupiter. You're actually making it good, because you're now Jupiter is behaving like Venus here. Okay. And it's also aspecting your third house, your 11th house from here. So this is also going to be giving you many friends, connection with the influential people, sisters, brothers, siblings are there, younger siblings, co-borns, you do have, and you're going to be having good connectivity with them as well. Okay. So if Jupiter is in your eighth house, okay, if Jupiter is in your eighth house, so eighth house is the past incarnation. I would say it's the house where, it's you're more involved in the negative activities, like occult sciences, but it is going to be in the negative way. You're not doing the conventional way of occult sciences or metaphysical, activities. You can be very unreasonable with Jupiter in the eighth house in retrogression. Okay. But at the same time, you definitely are inclined, whatever you will speak might come to true. That I have seen, with Jupiter, because it's looking at your second house, house of speech in retrogression. So this gives you those kinds of vak siddhi, as we say. People are very, especially the negative things, when you speak, they come to true. So this could be very, this zone is very unreasonable, orthodox, religionistic, or maybe, it's like some other kind of belief system that you have, unconventional. See, as it is, retrograde planets are very unconventional. They're very indifferent. They're very different than what the actual direct planets are. So this is going to be giving you some kind of inclination towards making money, seeking the truth, but in a very different manner. You're going to be forming some kind of belief system where you have difficulty in understanding the others. You're not going to be having that kind of connection with the people around you, but people are scared of you also, because whatever you speak, it happens to be true. So don't speak anything negative. It's better that you talk only the good things, so that people don't get the negativity. Okay. And also, this gives you the taste, the piousness. You're very elegant in your taste. You're very much inclined towards the good things of life. This is the deep house. So maybe you will be involved in some, something to do with, maybe you're from the glam industry. Okay. This is the combination. And the partner is also making money in a very unconventional manner. Could be your spouse is in a firm where, there are very unconventional kind of activities going on. Okay. Not the regular one. Okay, so Jupiter in the ninth house. Suppose Jupiter is in your ninth house in retrogression. Okay, that's very important to know. Okay, I will make the planets through houses series. Somebody's asking me to make series. Okay, so suppose it's the ninth house. Ninth house is the philosophy. It's the approach towards the world, how you look at the world. It is Dharma Trikona, one of the Dharma houses. And religion, how you are looking at the religion. That is something which is very unconventional kind of an approach. You are um, you're not that dogmatic approach towards religion or the higher learning skills. That's very, very different. You are actually, very, you're forming that prejudice, basically, a bias against the religion. So you definitely have that freedom of thought, freedom of speech, but at the same time, you are going to be actually vocal about it. You're going to be showing that also, demonstrating all those energies to others. So the best is don't, you are intellectual. You're a very, very intellectual person because Jupiter is looking at your first house from here. So you have to actually tame that intellect to enhance and grow yourself rather than pull yourself down, because you are confining yourself in that particular circle because you don't want to come out of it, you don't want to break that. You have that knowledge and you are actually growing in that knowledge to that, in that particular boundary only. You don't want to come out of it. You don't want to understand what the other people are incorporating, what kind of philosophy do they have, but you are more about me concept rather than we concept. So until unless you come out of that, it is not going to help you. This knowledge is not going to be taking you anywhere. But surely you are very intelligent, you are having the focus on sense of freedom. The approach towards life is very different. About education, higher education, maybe you change the streams. Whatever you have learned, you're not changing the streams, you're not learning or studying what you have already done in your undergrad. So the higher learning definitely is going to be very different than what you have done till now. Okay, it's also looking at your first house, your fifth house. So there is some bonding with your children here because you're going to be your Venus now. It's like Venus. So a lot of energy towards, and also weight gain is quite likely. So be careful. Um, when Jupiter in your chart is in your 10th house in retrogression, okay? So you must understand 10th house is house of profession. So maybe you are going to be having some different profession than your education. You change the line of your profession. You are more towards gaining those honors, but instead, you're not getting that kind of growth, the kind of growth you need. Also, this is the zone where Jupiter debilitates. In retrogression, it is actually going to gain that strength, So maybe you will be getting those accolades at the place of work, and maybe you will be getting all those honors. But at the same time, you're not that responsible because Jupiter is like Venus, right? So when it becomes and behaves like Venus, Venus is very lazy here, procrastinates a lot, when Jupiter is in the 10th house. So you will not be taking care of the responsibilities and feelings of the others. You will maybe lack honesty. You will have problems with, in gaining respect from your coworkers, your seniors. You're not in the good books, basically. But surely it gives you the inclination towards attaining a lot of accolades. You will have that inclination, and you will be also that financial success is definitely on cards when Jupiter is retrograde. But at the same time, you are not gaining that kind of it's not gaining through the honest path. You following the dishonest path, which is of course, not applicable to one and all. I must tell you, this is a disclaimer. It's all general. Depending on the affliction or the beneficence on this Jupiter, things will definitely modify. So you must respect for order, procedure, and law, abide by these things, and definitely you are going to be stress free. In case you are not, then this Jupiter is going to disturb you for a long, long time. Okay. Coming to the 11th house, if you have this, okay, I must tell you one more thing, sorry, for the 10th house thing. This Jupiter is looking at your second and the sixth house also from here. So you might amplify yourself, you're very flamboyant. When you meet people, you project as if you are having a lot of knowledge. You also project that you are a biggie, you are a very big shot, and your profession, even if it is at level 2, you will project it at level 9. So that is something which you are going to be behaving like. Also, you are going to be having health issues which are related to the lower abdomen or kidney or liver, or you're having liver. Definitely I have seen with retrograde Jupiter and aspecting the sixth house from there. So it's not protecting, of course. It is going to be giving that, inducing that disease in you. So you have to be extra careful about these things, and you will definitely be, you can make yourself positive, of course, also. Okay. What if Jupiter is in your 11th house? When you were born, Jupiter was retrograding at that time. Like right now, it is in Aquarius also when I'm making this video. So in the 11th house, it means that you will be having friends of some low nature, or maybe some, you will have some unconventional kind of friends, or you yourself will have some inferiority complex. You feel that others are doing well. I'm not, that comparison you will be doing all the time. Also, you are actually very self-centric. That approach is very self-centric also. You might get addicted to some means, some things which are not right. Quite likely. You're very learned. You're very, very focused on the growth. You might be into gambling, you might be into speculative income, stocks, shares a lot, and you can do anything to attain that success. There are certain, and inclined towards recreational pleasures of life. You are like Venus, right? Venus over here is amplifying things, a luxurious world, that world where you are more into um, pleasures, luxuries of life. So you want to attain all that and exhibit good taste, good judgment, good standards. That is something that you are actually inclined to. So that trustworthiness should be there, in relationships, in your associates, in the world that you are in, so that you are gaining that kind of positive energy. Make this Jupiter positive. Anytime when Jupiter is retrograde, we suggest remedies which enhances this Jupiter, because Jupiter is the pious most planet in a horoscope. So from here, Jupiter is looking at your third house and also your seventh house. So some unconventionality attached to your partner or success after getting married is also quite likely. It's looking at your fifth house, quite likely that you are in a relationship, love marriage, quite likely. A good relationship with your siblings. Our siblings are pretty unconventional kinds. Okay, let's move on to the 12th house. What if Jupiter is in the 12th house? When you were born, Jupiter here is written as Jupiter retrograde in the 12th house. So 12th house is actually the karmic house, basically karmic aspect. It's the house of renunciation or emancipation, I would say. So when Jupiter is there in a direct motion, so definitely it is very good because it's its own zone. But here it is retrograde. So this is going to make you more inclined towards the worldly things. It's Venus here. Suppose Venus is in the 12th house, it's exalted. Minus the lust. It's like, when you minus the lust from Venus, it becomes Jupiter. But when it is, Jupiter is retrograde, so it becomes like Venus. So here you are feeling that you have to um, cut down on your expenditures. You're wasting money like anything. Frivolous activities, wasteful activities, you're actually inclined to. Even your concept about spirituality is very, very unconventional, very different. It is like, you are more on the path where you don't want to be more spiritually inclined. You don't want to do activities where you can grow. But you are more inclined towards materialistic approach. You have more on the, mm, you know, you're very learned, but at the same time, your education, your wisdom is not letting you acquire the true compassion, acquire the true spirituality, the true brotherhood, how you should be doing with others. So that is something which is missing. It's giving you that self-centric approach. So that's something which when you follow, that's something which when you follow, then there is lack of the uh, reaching the higher realms of life. So to quit that karma, you have to ultimately modify yourself. So how you can modify? Push yourself to be more helpful to others, do for others. Because whenever Jupiter is retrograde, we can always, there is a scope, because it is going to be coming to the direct motion. So you will be given that chance once or twice in life where you can modify and do things for others, where you can grow as a person. So definitely these are going to be helping you as a person, as a we are all here to quit the karma. So there is always a chance given to everybody. So in case you want to, so do for others, help others, donate, be compassionate. So that will help you. And Jupiter in retrogression in the 12th house is also not good for settling abroad, overseas. It gives you troubles there. Okay. From here, Jupiter is also aspecting your 6th house, aspecting your 4th house, also aspecting your 8th house. So this can give you some kind of approach towards, mm, uh, you know, uh, love for your own country. Maybe you want to do for, you want to make a house in your own country rather than overseas. That, the roots are calling you all the time, because it's also looking at the 8th house. So there can be some unconventional kind of activity, occult sciences or metaphysical activities that you're performing because of the 12th house retrograde Jupiter. Okay. Health issues, of course, you will get, and they will be taken care of also gradually. All right. So this is it for Jupiter retrograde in your natal chart, in your birth chart. If anybody can do the timestamps, that what Jupiter does in particular houses, it will be really wonderful. And thank you so much for watching. I will be making the video on Jupiter getting retrograde in the sign of Aquarius soon. So this brings me to the end of the series on retrogrades, being the last part. So do write in the comment section as to how it was and how did you learn from this. This is a tutorial, so you must have learned something. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Stay blessed, everyone. Om Tat Sat.